Well, Haras Rafiq is Managing Director of the anti-extremism think tank, the Quilliam Foundation, and joins us from central London. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Is Prevent working?
I think there's a lot of issues within Prevent, but I'm actually deeply disturbed by the comments that Dal Babu has made today for three reasons. First of all, it's really offensive to all the parents, the scores of parents that are getting in contact with the police and agencies and practitioners right now to help them deter their children from going to join ISIL, and also for the police and these very same practitioners who are doing as much as they can to try and stop this from happening. Secondly, Mr. Babu has said that Prevent puts Muslims in a box. Well, I put it to him that he actually has put Muslims in a box himself when he set up the National Association of Muslim Police and also the Association of Muslim Police Officers. So he's really engaged in this particular box, putting certain people in his faith-based identity politics himself. And in fact, one of those organisations actually came out disagreeing with him today. But the third reason, which I find really the most troublesome, is that I'm not surprised that he's coming out with the comments that Prevent is toxic, because under his patronage, whilst he was actually setting up the National Association of Muslim Police, they in fact, whilst he was there, were actually encouraging Muslims and people within society to get involved with organisations that support jihadist extremists, call for civil disobedience, and actually even supported and worked with organisations such as Cage, who we know over the last 2 weeks have really supported Jihadi John. So I'm not surprised he's coming out with these comments.
OK, well, he isn't here to answer to that directly, and I don't want this to be a conversation directly about him for fairly obvious reasons. So let's park that, if we may. I just wanted to get some thoughts from you on some of the points that were made that currently cast doubt over Prevent from whatever source, and one of those is that in some cases it's not using the right people to pass on the message that needs to be passed on. Is there a grain of truth in that, do you think?
Well, let me say what the government hasn't done very well with regards to that. There are two parts to Prevent. The first one that he himself was involved in and other police officers have been involved in, and that is once somebody is identified as showing support, we try to de-radicalise or rehabilitate them. That has been done very, very well. Over the last 4 years, our government has not been going out to communities and stopping people from becoming radicalised in the first place by tackling the ideas, the ideology and theology. And I think that in itself is problematic, and I think we're hearing that there may well be a strategy to do that. It hasn't been done over the last 4 years. It's about time the government did something.
Well, on that, let me pick you up on that then, in that case, because you talk about what the government might be doing, and the Home Office today, talking about the fact that they did review this strategy in 2011, have also talked about the fact that, and I quote, "We will soon be coming forward with a new extremism strategy that deals with the whole spectrum of extremism." Is that going to do some of the work that you think should be done, do you think?
Well, this was called for in 2010, and one government department, DCLG, was tasked with doing this, and they didn't do it. But I was at a meeting recently where a Home Office minister actually said that they were going to start doing this work and coming out with the strategy to try and combat the ideas and the theology and the ideology. But one thing we mustn't do, what a number of people, I guess, today have been asking for, is to work with the very same extremists who may happen to be non-violent to try and de-radicalise the violent ones. It's a little bit like trying to use far-right people to try and de-radicalise groups far-right that may be violent, BNP and Combat 18 per se. So we've got to be very, very careful that we don't use taxpayers' money to promote and work with the very people that Prevent is designed to actually make them feel that they're under pressure and that it's toxic. So we've got to be very, very careful going forward that the government does work with people. And there are so many people, whenever there are Prevent rounds of funding, it's always oversubscribed. And I know this from my past. Before I joined Quilliam, I was actually one of the people that launched Preventing Violent Extremism in 2006. So it's always been oversubscribed. If anything, there needs to be more money put into the initiatives and more people who are on the right side of the debate, engaged, of which there are many that are willing to do so.
Thank you very much for coming on, Haras Rafiq there from the Quilliam Foundation.